to you.
But Caleb Williams is a fantastic talent. There's just no question about that. You see the ability to operate outside of structure, the second reaction throws on the perimeter. I mean, he's just a wonderful talent. It's how can he operate inside of structure behind an offensive line that's very good by all objective measures, a set of perimeter weaponry that rivals any team in the NFL. The question right now, the biggest question for me for them, Laura, heading into this season is new OC Shane Waldren. Can you tie it all together week after week after week and get this young man to play to his optimum?
So we talk. Okay, so that was a short little clip. Then they just go into Green Bay Packers, and you're a Chicago Bears fan if you're watching this, so you don't care about the Packers most likely. Okay, I agree. First off, I don't need convincing, right? I think it's very obvious when you watch Caleb Williams who he is and what he's capable of. I love that Lewis pointed out about the second reaction throws, because I think a lot of times when you have a quarterback that has kind of shown some of the things that Caleb can do, where they go wrong is some of those second reactions and how things then kind of start to spiral. And it's like, sure, those quarterbacks seemingly are really great off script, but it's almost like organized chaos and off script, or off script on script, off script. Like it's like it seemingly seems like it's off script, but it's more kind of still within this kind of safe bubble for them. And once they kind of really kind of get out of that, that's when things can kind of really start to collapse. And I think Caleb Williams with kind of these second reaction throws can kind of just show that he can have that organized chaos, which is what what I always say Patrick Mahomes can do. It's organized chaos. It's I can kind of do anything, but my realm, my bubble is just everything. It's just a 365 degrees. Whereas these other quarterbacks, they seemingly can do it, and it looks like they have this organized chaos, but once they kind of start to come out a little bit more, it pops. And to me, actually, a great representation of that is a Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott looks like he can do this organized chaos, but once you kind of start to expand that bubble a little bit, or shrink that bubble, so to speak, it pops. It pops on him. He can't expand it. And I think Caleb Williams has shown that he will be able to do that. Obviously, he hasn't done it in the NFL yet, but it should come together. But now to kind of focus on the larger point in terms of what Louis Riddick's his biggest concern or biggest question mark, I guess, surrounding the Chicago Bears and Shane Waldren. And I questioned him when he was first hired, or just that connection that he can have with Caleb. I think it's a very different skill set of bringing a Geno Smith, for instance, and bringing up a average quarterback into a pretty good quarterback, or a quarterback who people saw kind of had nothing and made him into a legitimate NFL starter. That's a different skill set than taking someone who is good and making them great or elite, or someone who's good and making them elite or great and elite, really maximizing the absolute potential. Now, of course, when you are a top level coach like an Andy Reid, you can do everything. And then I think it kind of goes down the line of what different coaches are able to do. There's some coaches that are able to make a great quarterback into an elite quarterback, or they're elite at managing an elite quarterback, a quarterback that's already elite, but they're not good at making someone who's good to great or average or good. And we see this especially in the NBA. We see this definitely with the NBA. You can look at any of the great GOAT coaches. There is a huge difference. Phil Jackson, Popovich, whatever it may be. There is a huge difference between being able to tie the pieces together of great elite talent and not, or just being like a good developmental coach. And so Shane Waldren, I'm not 100% sure where he falls on that. So he is a question mark. You can be confident in him, but he is a question mark. I think at the very least, he should be able to have Caleb and that offense running very well, very smoothly. Will it be that next gear, that next level? It remains to be seen. I think it'll really come down more than anything as to how much does Caleb trust him, and how much does Shane want to kind of push the limit with Caleb. Because is Shane going to constantly put Caleb in a situation where Caleb is like, I can do more, take off the training wheels, stop. And then that can be kind of get divisive. That can kind of get, problematic. And it's kind of like, all right, I'm just going to kind of do my own thing. We kind of saw that with Justin Fields not trusting the process in that regard. And you can make the claim that, hey, he needed, that was right for him because they were failing him. But who knows? Maybe if he actually just kind of bought in a little bit more and did more of what was asked of him, he could have more success. I'm not here to rehash what happened with Justin Fields. That's no longer interesting to me. It's really not. I'm focused on Caleb Williams and what the Chicago Bears can do today and now. And trust is going to be a major aspect of it, because maybe they're like, the Chicago Bears do take the process, because I think the Chicago Bears see themselves as a team that can honestly win right now. And I believe that they can win right now. So it's like, do you need even Caleb Williams? Do you really need to even truly unleash Caleb Williams at this moment to his maximum potential? To me, personally, I rather take a slow burn approach. I rather say, Caleb, we know you can do amazing things, and you are most likely going to retire and have some of the most unreal plays that the NFL world has ever seen. We don't all have to get them in your rookie year. It's going to happen. Let it unhappen organically and naturally. Hold back a little bit, because we're going to get some wins now. We don't need you to necessarily do that to get those wins. So let's just get those wins. Let's get ourselves into the playoffs. The sooner we get you in the playoffs, the sooner we get those experiences, the sooner you get blown out in a really competitive game and get your world rocked, so you have to look in the mirror and say, who am I? The sooner we can win, the sooner we can get there, the sooner you can truly reach your levels, because you do need to get punched in the face a handful of times. Tom Brady has been slugged in the face. Patrick Mahomes, slugged in the face. It's what needs to happen. So it's like, if you want to reach those levels, let's get you winning. Let's get you relevant, because honestly, getting slugged in the face when you're an 0-5 team really doesn't matter. It's different. It's different for Patrick Mahomes to lose in the Super Bowl than to lose in week 5. It's different, and it's made him a better quarterback, a more trusting quarterback of the pieces around him, of Andy Reid, of his defense, right? Especially this last season for Patrick Mahomes, he had to have tremendous trust in his defense and Andy Reid, because it was Andy Reid's vision to be like, we don't need to put up 1,000,000 points. We just need to play smart, conservative football. We're going to kick field goals. You're not going to throw the ball down the field every 5 seconds, and you're not going to be throwing the ball 35, 40 times a game, and we're still going to win. Trust me. And I promise you, it was probably very uncomfortable for Patrick Mahomes, because he's kind of even said that in a way. He's like, I want to get back to playing the football that I know we can, or that I want to do. And it's like, you're right. He's anxious and antsy to do those Patrick Mahomes-esque things. But when you trust your coach, when you trust your leader, you win a Super Bowl. It can't be debated, because it literally just happened. So it's just, where will Caleb fall along that spectrum with the Chicago Bears as a whole, whether it's Eberflus, whether it's his OC, whatever it may be. There's just going to be a lot of trust building. So I think it's going to be kind of this give and take relationship of like, trust us that we're going to put you in a situation to succeed. We're going to need you to not try to go beyond that too much, but I promise you, we will give you moments. It's not to say don't let Caleb be Caleb. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying Caleb needs to be practically like a backup quarterback here, but it's just, the Bears have the chance. They have the roster now to legitimately win. I've been saying this for a while, that I believe that they will make the playoffs. And so when you have that expectations on you and you have that ability, unfortunately, there's pressure to play better, higher quality football like now. Like that is the unfortunate reality. Whereas CJ Stroud, even Patrick Mahomes, they had a bigger sandbox to play. I think if Caleb Williams or CJ Stroud didn't make the playoffs, it wouldn't have been the biggest deal in the world. And yeah, there was some pressure on Patrick Mahomes, because they kind of had to like defend their pick and all that, and they did kind of have Alex Smith, and Andy Reid is Andy Reid. But he had a larger sandbox. He had the ability to fail. It feels like Caleb Williams has the pressure of savior way more than Patrick Mahomes, way more than a lot of these other top level quarterbacks, where it's just like, and I also feel like this is also kind of peak social media, because social media and all that is only getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So it's only like, it's just higher and higher levels of expectations that even Patrick Mahomes was not experiencing just yet. If Patrick Mahomes entered the league now, I think it would be surpassed, but it's just not. It's just we're constantly getting larger and larger and larger within the football world. So I think the expectations, especially going to Chicago, Patrick Mahomes had the benefit of going to Kansas City. It's not a top team. It's not this massive market. It's becoming that, obviously, but people were not talking about the Kansas City Chiefs regularly in the NFL. They've always been fighting for the Chicago Bears, fighting for that, right? Because they know it's a massive city, a massive market, an iconic franchise that just hasn't been able to do much in recent history. Caleb is poised to shoulder all of that. So it's like, let's just have you win games. To me, it's more important to have him win games rather than do all the Mahomes-esque stuff and lose games. But it's tough. It's give and take, because he also needs to figure out what he can and can't do. And figuring out what you can and can't do involves making a ton of mistakes. It just is. So I just feel also for Caleb, because I think like every interception, every bad throw, every fumble he makes, it's going to be, I told you he's a bust. He's doing too much. What is he doing? He thinks he's trying to be Mahomes, and he's not Mahomes. I think he's going to get a ton of that. If he has a game where he throws a couple interceptions or does something kind of crazy and it doesn't work out for him, they're going to be like, he's not Mahomes. Stop comparing it to Mahomes. It's an insult to Mahomes, and it'll just be compounded. So that's why I think it's so important, and I'm very passionate about it, clearly, to just set up that solid foundation. Let him get a solid, consistent, conservative offense, honestly. They get such a bad rep, but you can win games when you have a team like they have, and a quarterback, quite frankly, and then you kind of, you stick your toes into the deep end rather than just running and diving into the deep end. Just the way I see it. But I'm really excited, and I think they will be able to tie it together. But I think, like anything, it'll have its roller coaster ride. It'll have its issues, maybe even back-to-back weeks where people are really kind of like, oh man, what's going on here? But I do truly believe in Caleb Williams, and I think honestly, the more I see him, and especially the more recent stuff, he seems to me incredibly confident, and it's not a cockiness. Like it's definitely more of a confidence. Like he's ready for this. He's ready for this moment, and he's excited. And if anything, I'm sure he's antsy for it. He's like, let's go, let's do this. And so, there's a lot of reason to believe in that. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? What do you think like the biggest concern is for the Chicago Bears? And do you think they honestly can tie this all together going into this season and have, early success? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.